Hi guys! So as promised, today I'm going to share everything about my whole snake setup. This is his whole setup right here. I'm going to start off by talking about what's on the outside of the cage as well as what's on the side right here. So I have the cage set up on a TV stand from IKEA. I actually have two of them that I stack together and it works out pretty well. I leave space between the cage and the stand with these spacers, these rubber spacers here. I have four of them that go across here, and these are from Home Depot. Moving on down here, I have some scrap paper that I use underneath the bedding. I have this kitchen scale that I use from time to time to check on his weight. I have snake bedding. He currently uses aspen bedding and it works out really well. I'll go into detail with this later. I have boxed water. I actually got this at a free event, so this kind of water is actually good for him, so I just kind of keep it on hand. I have other sources too, but I like to just keep that there. Underneath here, I have some random stuff. This mini broom and dustpan is super handy when I want to do cleanup. That's from Daiso, by the way. It's super cool. This I use to help with thawing out frozen mice. These are tongs to help feed. I have shed ease. I haven't had the need to use this yet because his first shed was actually pretty successful, but this will come in handy maybe at some point. I have this. This is, what's it called? Reptisafe. It's basically a dechlorinizer or something to put into tap water. I have a big container of it. I'll show you. And I just put it into this. This is a temperature gun. It's pretty cool. Lets me see the temperature of a surface, and it helps me monitor everything, so that's kind of cool. I have an extra water bowl here. Right here, it's just random stuff. This is the container that I got Rapunzo in. Some of my feeders come from this website. This is a tub that I use for multiple things. I use this to give him baths if he's starting to stink up. I use this as kind of like his secondary home whenever I'm cleaning this out. Most recently, I've used this to help him with his shedding process. I just left him here overnight to kind of help him separate from his old skin, and it really helps because this is really good at humidity, so this is really useful to have on hand. And maybe another purpose would be if I'm traveling or if I want to transport him somewhere, this would be a good thing to tug around instead of obviously bringing this whole thing with me. Off to the side here, I have the heating mat. It's right under here, and that's why I use the spacers, so that it's able to vent and also for me to be able to fit this underneath. Right here I have my misting bottle. I use this to help regulate the enclosure, making sure it's nice and humid. And I only use distilled water for this. That way, when I spray down, it doesn't leave water spots on the glass. And that's what this is here, distilled water. I also use this as Rapunzo's drinking water, but if I'm not using this, or if I'm not using this, I do have Reptisafe here. And that's what this was all about. I just put some of this into here. I grab some tap water, I put a few drops, and then it works out well. So let's move on to the outside of the cage. Obviously this is just to make it look all pretty. I put these flowers together from the dollar store, and the stems that it came with, I kind of just put it all together and kind of made this little setup here. It's whatever. This fabric here is actually a scarf from like Gap. It's super breathable. Underneath I have cardboard, and it helps with trapping heat because underneath this it's pretty open and exposed, so it really helps with that. I like to bunch up the scarf on the sides, that way it kind of lifts a little bit and it gives them more breathing room. But other than that, like, he can breathe from so many places, like even this crack right here, this whole front area, so he's totally fine. Okay, so the enclosure itself. This is an Exoterra terrarium, and it is, I believe, a 36 by 18 by 18 cage, so it's pretty spacious. My enclosure is set up in a way that it has a cold side and a hot side. So on the cold side, I have a hide right here. And Rapunzel loves this hide. It opens up, and it's actually pretty big. I filled it up with bedding, but as it gets bigger, I can put less and less bedding, and it'll actually be able to fit them for a lot longer. And that's good because this thing was pretty pricey. I'm glad it'll last me a while. I have a water bowl here. I have a hygrometer and a thermometer to monitor the temperature as well as the humidity. I have him on aspen bedding, and I put liners down here just in case something soaks through, like either the water or his piss or whatever. Branch, he loves climbing this thing. We have our warm side. This is a huge water bowl here. I bought this from the dollar store and sprayed the bottom with it's like this texturizing spray paint, and I let it air out pretty good, and it worked out pretty well. It looks really nice. We have another hide right here, and he's kind of hiding not inside the hide but behind it, and that's kind of cool. Like, he kind of utilizes these leaves right here as well as this hide to kind of create a bigger hiding spot. So yeah, I got this, and I also have this. This is just to make it look pretty. I got this from Daiso, and a lot of times he loves climbing this and like hanging out up here. So for the hot side, I do want to closely monitor the temperature here because I don't want to burn him. I want to make sure he's nice and happy. I have this right here. It's digital, that way it's a little more accurate. I also have, I showed you this temperature gun. It helps with finding out the temperature. Right here is the heating mat, like I showed you before, so it reads a little bit higher right there. His thermostat, there's a probe right here, and right underneath this is the heating mat. And I forgot to mention that when I was on the side here. But anyway, the probe will detect the heat, and it'll give me the temperature right under here. And I set it so that if it hits a certain level, the heating mat will actually turn off on its own. And that way it never overheats and he doesn't burn himself. What else? Oh, the lighting setup. So this is LED tape. I got this off of Amazon. It's super awesome. That's what this controller is here for. It has all these color settings, so it's pretty cool. The sensor, I have it sticking out right over there. So I just turn it on right here. Off, on. That is pretty much it, you guys. That is my snake enclosure. And I am not saying that this is the ultimate perfect setup, but you know, I've watched a ton of YouTube videos and you know, this is what I came up with. If you guys have any tips or tricks, feel free to share it. I'd really love to learn a little bit more on what's best for, you know, these ball pythons, especially if you don't raise them in tubs, because this is definitely, putting them in the glass enclosure is definitely a lot more, or it requires a lot more upkeeping. So I'm excited to see what you guys think. Alright, but other than that, I think that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.